the biggest reason why Colin Kaepernick is not on a team right now is what?
I think the perception of his talent. Yes, it all stems back to not kneeling for the national anthem and the reaction that that's going to get from fans. But if people perceive Colin Kaepernick as a difference maker, as a guy who could be their starting quarterback and help them win games, he would be signed now, and people would deal with the repercussions. I think everybody sees him maybe as a backup. Is he a guy who can, really help us? Am I just going to get 3 or 4 games a year? If that's the case, it's not worth the headache. It's not worth the distraction. It's not worth the number of fans we would turn off. I think that goes without saying.
Would you take Colin Kaepernick?
I don't have a problem with what Colin Kaepernick did in expressing his feelings. I think he's getting better at, really letting people know why he's doing things. I would be evaluating what can he bring to the table. Is he going to help us win? And I still think if you design a system for him and utilize him right, that weaponry, it makes sense in Seattle. I'm hearing that they might be interested. He could run the same offense. He'd give you some of the same things that Russell Wilson gives. If Wilson gets hurt like he did last year and wasn't as effective in there for stretches, you've got a guy who could win some games for you in that system. So, yes, I think in certain situations, now if you're sitting there and you're just a drop back passing and you're not going to change the system for him, you probably won't get what you need.
Yeah, that's the key. Talking to Tony Dungy, Football Night in America analyst, is he going in as a starter or as a backup, and what's the system like when you get there? Seattle, he can go in. He understands the system. He played against them twice a year when he was in San Francisco. What I don't understand, Tony, is the Jets and Browns not interested in Colin Kaepernick. Why?
Well, they're looking for long-term solutions, and they've got certain style that they're going to play. That's I think what has everybody baffled in the football world is we see these situations where people don't have quarterbacks. They're not winning. They don't have a guy they can hang their hat on, and we say, wouldn't you at least look at this guy who's been to Super Bowls and caused problems and put up 400-yard total offense games? Wouldn't you at least look? And that's what is baffling to people because there aren't enough quality quarterbacks to go around.
Yeah, I look at the Browns situation. Well, let me start with the Jets. I think if I have 3 or 4 quarterbacks, that means I don't have one quarterback, right?
That's the old saying, and I believe you're right.
And then with the Browns, I understand what Hugh Jackson's doing, that they missed out on Carson Wentz. Maybe they found gold in Deshaun Kaiser, but they're not close. They could be in this situation again next year, Tony, and then they could be on the clock and the quarterback staring them right in the face.
To me, that's the thing that kind of hits you with Cleveland's situation. You passed on some quarterbacks. You said, hey, we evaluated all these guys. We don't really like them enough. And some of these guys have done well. But the problem is the guys that you picked, you still don't have one. So if you passed on Carson Wentz and you had good quarterback play, that would be one thing. But when you pass on those guys and it doesn't seem like you filled the bill, then that's when people get a little bit gun shy. So I think they do. They've got to find a guy, and they've got to say, this is our guy. We're going to play him and develop him and go. And that's really what they need to get that franchise going.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.